podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are The Podcast. It's Gavin. You join us at full time as Sunderland take a point on the road away at bottom of the table Wolverhampton Wanderers, and what was a relatively eventful game. Maybe eventful first half is probably fairer to say. And I'm joined by two of my mates to chat all about it. First up is Bomber. Hello, mate.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you after that?
I'm all right. And you were bullied into making sure you were on time today. So I thought, we give you that much shit, mate, for not turning up on time. You were nice and on time today. So well done.
Mate. Thank you. That's because I said I was going to turn up at the whistle at kickoff yesterday.
And also with us is Mike Dunn. Hello, mate.
Hi Gav, hi Bammer, how's everyone? All good this end. Don't really know what to say about that game. I'm looking forward to talking about the random incidents in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start off, Bomber, by just, what's your overall feeling coming away from it? Mine's probably frustration, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it feels like a missed opportunity because I didn't think, apart from that period in the first, 15 minutes of the second half, I didn't think Wolves were very good at all. I thought they were quite lightweight on the ball. They were quite wasteful. And I think had Dan Ballard stayed on the pitch, I think we would have won that game quite comfortably. Because they didn't even really make the most of that man advantage. I know it's a cliche, isn't it, to say that it's difficult to play against 10 men. When you're playing against 10 men for 65 minutes of a game, you should be doing something to put pressure on. So yeah, for me it feels like a missed opportunity. It would have been really good to take 3 points away from Molineux. But if you take this game in isolation and just look at it without context of what it means to our season potentially, it's an away point, having played the majority of the game with 10 men, so you can't sniff at it too harshly, I guess. But yeah, disappointing. You've already telling my voice. It's disappointing, really.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting and fair point, I guess, Mike. That we did play the game for the majority of the game, anyways, with 10 men, but we were winning. It was against the worst team in the league, so naturally we feel just a little bit gutted, really.
Yeah, and I think if that red card doesn't happen, I think we probably win that game comfortably because the way we started and the way the game was sort of going, we looked comfortable and we got the early goal, and you could already hear the Wolves crowd sort of getting on the back of their players. So I think it's frustrating really because it probably it was a missed opportunity in one way, but at the end, it's hard to get away. It's May. We're now mathematically safe now, apparently, today after that draw. So you had your table up in front of you. Look at that. We're mathematically safe. So, it's hard to get too upset about it in one way. But, they were just, the red card is just a bizarre decision now. I know we'll get into it, but it just changed the whole complexion, really.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a second. But we'll start with a positive. It was the goal, really. We scored. We got ourselves ahead nice and early. I actually thought we played all right as well up until that point. I know it was only 17 minutes into the game when Nordi Mukiele got on the end of a Granit Xhaka corner, and it was a free header. It was a really poor goal from a Wolves perspective, but we put the ball into a dangerous area. Nordi nods it down 1-0. I thought we deserved it up until then, Bomber. I thought we got on the ball. We did pretty well. It was early in the game, so it's hard to make a massive assessment of how we were playing, but I thought we started pretty well and deserved to go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was for long. It was for a long enough period to make an assessment of it. I think it's fair. I don't think it was too early. We started well. We pressed well. Wolves made mistakes. We looked comfortable on the ball. It looked like we're playing with that confidence as well. We were kind of just pushing it around, side to side, forward, backwards, trying to find spaces, trying to create where we could. And when we did lose the ball, we were doing a lot to try and win it back. So for me, it was a start that, especially after the Forest result, that I was looking for. Everybody up for it, everybody wanting the ball, everybody looking confident on the ball, and us looking to actually go and win the game and fight for the rest of our season. So I don't think it was I think it was long enough to make a judgment on it, and I was, like
Mhm.
I said, I was quite impressed. Um, yeah, and even at that point, thought we'll go on and win this quite comfortably. At no point did I think we'd end up necessarily drawing it, but it was a good start. It was a positive start. It was the exact reaction you wanted to see following last Friday. So yeah, I was pleased with it.
Yeah, not really much to say about the goal, Mike, other than it was a goal, really. It wasn't like Shaka's corner completely outfoxed Wolves or anything. It was put into a dangerous area that you'd usually expect a team to be able to clear the lines and get rid of it, but they didn't. And Nordy was there to nod it down. And glad for him, actually. He's been amongst the. I know he's probably got 3-4 goals this season, but in a team which doesn't really score many goals or have standout goal scorers, he does feel like one of the players who at least gets into positions to score goals and stuff. So I was pretty pleased for him, and he obviously scored in the reverse fixture as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and I suppose there was a bit of sort of animosity with him with some of the fans last week at halftime against the Paris game, so he sort of good reaction all around there. Just on the goal, I mean, it was, great cross from Jacques in terms he put the ball exactly where you sort of want the ball going into from set piece, but Jesus, Wolves are just shocking. Like they're defensively, they're so poor. I think they were trying to. The commentator was saying they're trying to set up zonely there, but like I don't know what sort of zone they were actually setting up. It was more like just leave a load of space in the middle of the pitch for in the middle of the box for two Sunderland's sort of biggest physical players to get into. But yeah, for Michele, like I mean, he's been probably one of our best signings this season and one of our biggest threats from corners, really. So yeah, I mean, as you said, not much to say about the goal. Just put us 1-0 up, and at that stage we were looking very comfortable in the game.
Yeah, and then came the red card about 5-6 minutes later, whatever it was, and after the goal, Wolves didn't really rally or anything. We got on the ball. We were just dictating the game as you'd expect, being the better side ahead in the game. And then what happens. It's a really strange one. Ball kind of goes up in the air, I think, and Ballard's tussling with Arakandaria, their striker, and is adjudged by VAR to have pulled his hair, and he has pulled his hair. Whether he means to do it, I don't know. I think he's just trying to tussle with him more than anything than deliberately pull the hair. But we've seen it happen recently. I think Michael Keane got a red for Everton. Martinez for
Martinez, yeah.
at Man U. And the annoying thing is with Martinez, or certainly the precedent has been set because he got a 3-match ban. So it looks like Ballard's season is now over. So we're 1-0 up. We lose one of the most important players on the pitch for us. We're down to 10 and he's gone for the season, and it just sucked the wind out of us, Bomber, didn't it? It was
Mm.
all the momentum that we'd built up was gone. Wolves, their tails were up. They were thinking, right, we've got a chance of getting back into this year, and it threw us all to pot because Reggie's picked the team, and he plays a system where you've got Hume on the right of midfield, and occasionally playing in we were kind of dropping into a 4 with Enzo joining Robbie in attack, and the system was very structured because of this game and who we were playing. And all of a sudden, we had to go with Hume at right back. Minardi had to shuffle across. We were a man light, all because of what happened with Ballard. I mean, get your thoughts on it. Like, what did you think of one, the situation, two, the decision to send him off?
I think, like you said, like you suggested, Gav, the precedent was set with Martinez because that was the lightest of hair pulls. It's not like somebody's running at full speed and you've grabbed a chunk of their hair, pulled them back, and pulled them down to the ground. Um, I th- I don't think I agree with you. Ballard 100% pulled his hair. I don't think he meant to. I think he's meant to grab the back of his shirt and taken a fistful of his dreadlocks instead, and just held on to it. It doesn't look like he's even pulled it. He's just held it basically, and obviously in the motion of both going up for a header and coming back down, he has inadvertently kind of pulled his head back. But by the letter of the law and by the precedent set in previous games, it's a red card. I mean, it's one of the more harsher red cards because it's like you say, he'll be banned for 3 games likely. It's violent conduct. VAR on the board, it was saying VAR checking for violent conduct, which is a no qualms 3-match ban if it's adjudged to be violent conduct. So I mean, even after that, like you said, Wolves had their tails up, but I didn't really feel uncomfortable. They had a couple of half chances. Roofs pulled off towards the end of the half, pulled off a half decent save. But even then, I'm like, I don't think Wolves have got enough to get themselves back into this game. I think they've run out of ideas. And even though, we were down to 10 men and the shape that we prepared for, etc., was thrown to pot a little bit, that back four, it's still a back four that we've played with this season. We've still played with Mukiele in the centre, Hume right, Ronaldo left, and then Alderete were in his usual position. So it's not too alien. All right, we've lost somebody in the midfield or out wide, sorry. But that defence with Xhaka in front of it should still have more than enough experience and more than enough shape to deal with whatever Wolves can throw at us. So again, I wasn't really concerned at that point, and still thought we'd probably come away winning it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. What do you think of the red card, Mike?
I mean, when you look at it, it is quite soft in terms of like how little of the hair he actually pulls. But as Bomber was saying, like the letter of the law and sort of based on previous sort of situations where lads have got sent off for similar stuff, it is a red card. It's just frustrating because it's so soft and, like I said earlier, sort of changed the complexion of the game. It's funny. It's funny that it's called out violent conduct because near the end of the first half, bro, we absolutely milled into one of their players and only got a yellow for it, and that was probably twice as more likely to be a violent conduct challenge than that. But yeah, it is. It's just frustrating, and it's frustrating. Ballard, you probably should sort of know, in those situations, based that the rule has been changed lately, that just to sort of step off a little bit in those situations because it wasn't sort of a dangerous, like it wasn't in the box. You know what I mean? Where he was going up for a header for a goal or anything like that. It was sort of outside the box. So that part of it's frustrating, but like you got to kind of think about as well, where did he go from here with these things? Like there's obviously a lot of lads now in the Premier League with dreadlocks. Like how long are you allowed to put your hair? How long can you have your hair, or does it have to be tied up or something going into next season? Because before you know it, you'll have players wearing wigs and stuff in the middle of matches to get challengers their way. Like so, it's a bit of a stupid rule, really, altogether, in my opinion.
Well, it's minimal. The lad's not been hurt by it particularly,
Yeah.
and Ballard's going to miss 3 games. I hate that rule, if I'm honest.
Mhm.
When it happened, I'm sat there and I'm going, "You idiot! Why have you done that?"
Yeah.
About Ballard. As part of us
Yeah.
was thinking that, and to a degree, still kind of thinks you've got to be a bit more savvy than that.
I think
But
there should be a
it's
bit of context with those sorts of decisions, and it should be a little bit more subjective because, like I said, there's a fundamental difference between a winger sprinting at full pace, someone grabbing their hair, yanking them down to the ground,
Mhm.
and
what happened.
going
Yeah.
up for a header, grabbing half a piece of hair, and not throwing their head back when I think I'm not condoning it. Don't get me wrong, but I just think the way in which it should be treated, it's you know should have a little bit more context and stuff. Should have a little bit more subjectivity to it.
Yeah.
You can have a sliding tackle which is a foul. You can have a sliding tackle which is a foul and a yellow card, and you can have a sliding tackle which is a foul and a straight red. And those are given context, and those are given subjectivity. So why shouldn't that? Because it's not a
Yeah.
punt, it's not a kick out, and like I said, I still believe that Ballard's gone to grab a bit of the back of his shirt
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
has missed the shirt and has just held on, like his fist has held on to the hair. So yeah, I think it's a rule that probably needs a little bit of tweaking next season because just to hold somebody's hair like that without any force or real intent or anything like that to be a straight red, I feel it ruined the game today, and
Yeah. It did.
Man United fans felt it ruined their game as well. So yeah, I think it might need a little bit of
I'm
tweaking.
Yeah, like I am being tongue in cheek saying that about like guys with long hair, but like there will have to be some sort of rule, because lads will pay for that. Defenders are going to get close, they're going to get physical. You'll see guys diving for it if they get close to them. I mean, Ballard getting sent off for something like that is so minimal. And I did reference obviously, Broby got a yellow card for going through one of the Wolves lads, and you can't compare the two. It's like that just wasn't violent conduct. Like, but at the same time, you do have to be smarter. And that's probably what let Ballard down there.
It's a contact sport.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that Ballard goal I got ruled out the other week. I just think like, where's the game going where you can't make contact with somebody? You can't tell me when you're watching that back from Ballard that he's deliberately trying to pull his hair back. I don't think he is. I think he's put his hand out to grab something, and unfortunately he's grabbed the hair. And it looks probably really bad when you slow it down with VAR. And the referee didn't give the decision, VAR did. And there's, it's right what Bomber says. There's no subjectivity when it comes to these decisions. Any hair pull is a red card now because they've made it that way. They've set the precedent with other decisions, and the more I've stewed on it, the more I think about it, because it's been quite a while now since it happened. I hate the fact that that's a red card. I know it's a red card. I know why it's a red card, because that's the way they've set the precedent and the rules. But it shouldn't be a red card. He hasn't done, like you say, Bomber. It's complete. That kind of hair pull, what's happened there, is totally different to ragging a clump of hair out of somebody's head. They are not the same thing, but the punishment's the same.
Yeah.
And I agree, that's got to be looked at. And the big thing for me, it did spoil the game. It completely spoiled the game, because all of a sudden, if anything, it leveled the playing field. Wolves having a player more than us probably leveled things up, if anything. And we had to retreat into our shells, because it would have been stupid to do anything otherwise until they scored. And obviously at half time, we went in at half time, and I was like, I'm just glad to be in at half time here, because the lads need to get in and regroup and talk about how they're going to tackle the second half. And it was sloppy. To be honest, I thought after half time we weren't great, and you had to expect Wolves were going to come out and give us a bit, because they'd obviously have gone in and thought, right, come on, we've got no to lose here. We're getting beat, yeah, but they're down to 10. Let's get at them a bit. And they just kept putting it wide, stretching us, popping the ball up in the air to the big lads in the box, hoping it would drop. And that's not even where the goal came from necessarily. They got a set play, and it was almost identical to the Nordy one, really. The annoying thing for me is Siddiqui trying to win a free kick. It was never a foul. I know the VAR checked it and dismissed it, but he's trying to win a free kick rather than just concentrate on defending. I know he wasn't in the area where the ball was, but it's beside the point. This has happened a few times now, where our players have tried to win free kicks from defending set players and haven't gotten away with it, because it's quite clearly not a foul. But by the by, ball goes into the area. I think, Roofs is poor, if I'm honest. I think, yes, there's a lad tries to run across and block him, and he succeeds to a degree. But I'm wanting him to come out and clean people out and win that. And Hume as well. I think Hume's weak as piss, if I'm honest. And the lad wins the header. Santiago Bueno, it's a goal. Another poor one from us. We just keep conceding these sloppy goals, and that made it a lot harder for us, I think, Mike. After that point, if we've got a lead even with 10 men, I fancy us to you've got to defend well, though, first and foremost. And this has been a bugbear for weeks, hasn't it? The defending side of our games just really dropped off, and it was summed up in this goal, if I'm honest.
Yeah, like you said, it was akin to our goal that we scored in the first half, and the defending was terrible. I mean, I kind of wrote down Hume especially was very disappointing. He was stuck to the ground, couldn't get up. But Bueno, Jacques was the other side of him, so it even looked worse. There's two lads on one there, and it was the most comfortable goal he ever got. Roof's sort of, strangely enough, I don't know if it's since last week or the last couple of weeks, he's sort of come back from his injury. He sort of looks shot for confidence a little bit, or really a little bit anxious to sort of come out for balls that he would have been doing earlier in the season. You've kind of seen another side of him that we probably weren't seeing until now. Just goals from set piece over the last few weeks, we look really shit, to be honest. And after that, we kind of started getting back into the top of the game, but I just was kind of hoping for Lebris to make changes earlier than he did. Obviously, Serkin, Diarra, and Isidore came on around the 70th minutes, but we probably needed a bit more pace, even at half time, something different, just to sort of have an outlet up top. They were pinning Broby up. He couldn't really get in behind, and that was just making the pitch sort of smaller for us and easier for Wolves to defend against. So, yeah, the goal was disappointing, kind of when it came, because from play, like you said, they weren't really doing anything, but we weren't really helping ourselves by sort of getting the ball up the pitch or having someone we could use as an outlet.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Bomber?
Yeah, I mean, the goal conceded, I haven't really got much to add to it. It was pretty shit. It felt like it came out of nothing. I know Wolves had a bit of pressure, and they came out that second half and put us under a little bit. That's, like I said, that spell they had was that they were pressing us a little bit and pinning us back in. But I felt that we'd weather it, and yeah, we just got a bit sloppy and a bit slack, and it looked like we were clinging on a little bit. But yeah, the goal, it was. I mean, Mike summed it up perfectly well. It was just a bit shit all round. Like I said, it was poor from Hume. Ruth should have done better. It's just a really crap goal to concede when you're 1-0 up and against it. Like if somebody fires one in from 25 yards into the top corner, you just kind of nod and go, okay, fair enough. But we should be doing better with that. Like I said at the top, that back four that we've played the rest of the game with isn't an alien back four. It's a back four that we've played this season and have done well with this season. So it's not like there should be any confusion in terms of people's roles and what they should or shouldn't be doing or what they can and can't do. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it, to be honest. And then it kind of, everything else kind of petered out up until the last kind of 10 minutes or so. And it looked like we might have a chance of sneaking something. And I'm sure we're about to talk about Diarra's efforts now. But yeah, it still didn't. I still never felt that we were going to lose the game at that point, but and still was quite confident that we would have chances at least to get something from it. But it obviously never materialised. But
Yeah, and Labris kind of carried on with the team that was on the pitch. Mike didn't wait to make subs till a little bit later, which, if I'm honest, I wish he'd done a little bit sooner. Even you know, you could see the players getting ready to come on about 7-8 minutes before they actually came on the pitch, which I'm not sure why that was. But it wasn't until the 72nd minute that we saw the introduction of Isidore Diarra and Dennis Serkin. And you know, there was something just before the subs where Ronaldo was clearly blown out of his arse. I don't know whether he's just not quite fit or not, but he doesn't look as sharp as he did before all of the injuries he's had. But yeah, he came off for Serkin at left back. That was a like-for-like change, as was the change to bring on Isidore for Broby, who did okay holding the ball up and stuff, but never really threatened. I don't think we gave him any real chances, to be honest. Brian Broby, I think he fed off scraps most of the afternoon, but that's probably to be expected given we were down to 10 for a lot of the game. And then the Diarra for Siddiqui change, yeah, another like for like, you could probably say, in terms of where they were on the pitch. Bomber touched on it there. I think Diarra had a couple of chances, which, I mean, the fact they were so wide made them look like half chances, but they weren't. You know, they come out to them in a decent position, and the first one I think went out for a throw-in, and the second one wasn't far off doing the same, but it was a little bit closer. But they were probably the two chances that we had in play where I thought, you know, that's around the box. We should probably get shots away. But to be honest, the ones that frustrated us most were there were moves within about a 90-second spell, I think, where Isidore broke them both down. I think they had a set play, and Roofs does really well to release the ball to Isidore. And ordinarily in that situation, I think he just runs onto it, but for some reason tries to take a touch, which completely sends the ball the wrong direction and nothing comes of it. But he was away. He was through on goal. If he runs onto that, he's 1v1 with the goalkeeper. And then, like I said, I think about 90 seconds later, maybe 2 minutes later, there's another one where him and Talby break, and he's just got to get the pass right, and he holds onto it for too long, and he ends up playing it far too wide of Talby, who looks knackered by the time he gets to the ball, and the move breaks down. So we had some half chances. Yeah, there probably were half chances, but there were still opportunities, and we didn't take them. We felt a little bit wasteful, and I'm a bit pissed off about that, if I'm honest, because Wolves are shite, man. Like, we could have won this game even with 10 men, even playing not particularly well. Like, those which there were chances actually, and probably should have took them, or at least one of them.
That sort of just sounded like you just getting everything off your chest there, Gav. I don't know if I've anything that. But you know, you're right. Like, I mean, I actually written down just before Wolves had scored the goal, we actually only made 17 successful passes in the whole of the second half, the first 20-25 minutes. So you could just see that the game was breaking down as we were going forward. And I wanted him to make the changes, like you said earlier, with Serkin, Diarra, and Isidore. They just brought on the fresh legs that we're looking for. And you're kind of hoping that Isidore could have been more of an outlet for the counter-attack that we were obviously trying to play with the 10 men. But yeah, like you kind of summed it up. The chances were all right. Like, I actually missed the first one. I went for a piss when Diarra missed the first one. I just saw the messages on my phone. The second one, the volley, like, it wasn't really a chance. The fact that we're even talking about it as a chance shows how little really was happening. At the end of the second half, I thought we possibly had a shout for a handball actually. In added time, I think Serkin put a cross in, and it definitely hit the Wolves defender's arm. But
Yeah, was it Marnie? I think.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think he just sort of suggested that his arm was actually down, so he didn't give it. But yeah, that was probably the most likely I thought that we might have looked like actually getting a chance of scoring. But it's sort of after Christmas, I sort of feel our whole attacking threat or how we play is sort of just, I don't know, it's a bit muddled up. It's not really coherent. I don't know if it's with Broby up there that we don't tend to create as much chances that we were maybe before Christmas. And that, like, I mean, that's a conversation for another day, but it's definitely something that needs to be looked at because we're just a little bit toothless at times. And we might need a bit of help in the transfer window with that.
Yeah. Like I said, Bomber, we did have a couple of half chances, but just quickly, your thoughts on the handball? Do you reckon it was? It went to VAR. VAR cleared it.
It did go to VAR. VAR cleared it pretty quickly. I looked at the replay and was like, no, I don't think so. His hands are down by his side. He's stuck his foot out to try and block what he thought was the direction the cross was coming in. And, if you're lunging and you stick your leg out, one of your arms is going back slightly behind you. It wasn't an attempt to block the ball. It was from about 3 yards away. I'm not screaming for it. I want it, obviously, because it's at the end of the game and it's to potentially win it. But if that had been given against us, we'd be on this podcast now absolutely fucking raging about it. So I'm not too disappointed. But like Mike said, we do feel a little bit toothless, which sounds silly after having scored 3 goals at Villa Park. But I think those were kind of exceptional circumstances at Villa Park. It was a crazy couple of minutes. We just don't seem to want to shoot from outside the box. And the goal that that Mukiele scored against Spurs was from a shot outside the box, and we just don't seem to do it very often, or certainly not often enough.
I actually texted one of my mates during the game about it because not to pick on him, but Xhaka had that one shot where he side footed it and it went wide.
Yeah,
I was like,
that, yeah.
And what I was saying was like, he's had a whole career of scoring absolute rakers from 25 yards, Granit Xhaka, and he just hasn't. I think you could probably count on one hand the amount of shots he's had this season.
Yeah,
it is almost like it's a directive. I know it's probably not, but it feels like it though.
I can only assume it must be, Gav, because there's no, like you said, the Granit Xhaka that played for Arsenal for how long was scoring goals from 25 yards out in the Champions League, firing him into the top corner and off the posts and into the bars. All right, he wasn't like a 15 goal a season midfielder, but the ones he scored enough for him to build a bit of a reputation about it. And he's just not done that. And that's the same with all the players, really. There's no one really, even the wide players are cutting in and not really shooting. I think Talbot's had a cut one, maybe two, that he's curled into the far corner. But we're certainly not doing
even he had
enough.
chances to deal the Bomber to do it. There was one in particular, right? I know he's on the right, so it's different. When he's on the left, he is a lot more confident in his ability to shoot. But when he's on the right, he does still cut inside, and there was one occasion where he did it, and I thought the space is opening up here, and he just passed it inside 5 yards.
Yeah.
Just shoot.
Yeah,
just
it's
shoot.
frustrating.
You've done it all season and scored goals. Do it.
Looks like another guy. Looks like another guy lacking confidence though as well, doesn't it? Like I don't know, just he's cutting inside there, and as you said, like maybe 2 months ago, he's hitting a 25-yarder there, but it's sort of symptomatic with the whole team at the moment. They all just seem sort of down on confidence, and they're trying to play it safe.
Yeah, it's a strange one because there's absolutely given what we've achieved this season, what we can still achieve or could still achieve before the whistle was blown at 3:00 today. There's absolutely no reason for any of those players to be a lack of confidence. All right, we took a bit of a pasting from Forest, but that's one game out of 33 others, 34 others. There's no reason for that to be a seed of lack of confidence. These guys have achieved absolutely phenomenal things this season, regardless of where we end up finishing. There shouldn't be a lack of confidence. If anything, they should be buzzing with confidence and popping shots off everywhere, backing themselves to put them in the top corner or to fire and pass a goalkeeper. It's so yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you, Gav, that it feels like it's some sort of directive from the coaches or from Lebris. Because I'm like you said, Mike. Since the new year, I've been finding myself scratching my head and shouting at the telly or shouting if I'm at the ground, shoot, shoot, shoot. And I know I'm not the only one because it's in our WhatsApp group. You can hear it in the crowd. So I can only assume that they're told not to necessarily do it, but it is frustrating because it does mean that it takes one arm away from an attack in terms of how you end up scoring a goal. And we've not been very good from set pieces either. So the only real way that we're scoring goals at the minute seems to be from breakaways. Which, if you know that that your opposition, the only real chance they have of scoring is from a breakaway, you just sit a bit deeper and you know how to play against it, which might be what other teams are doing, and which is why we've struggled for goals a little bit more this season, for the second half of the season. But it's easy for me to sit here and say how disappointed I am, and we should do this and we should do that. Like I said, it depending on what the results are for the rest of the weekend, Everton have still got to play, Chelsea have still got to play, we've still got to play Everton and Chelsea ourselves. There's some parallel universe that might still come to fruition where it's in our own hands. We take 7 points from our last 3 games, finish 8th or 9th, and then we're off to Kazakhstan next season. Until it's mathematically impossible, I'll still believe.
Well, just very quickly before we round off as well, I mean, I mentioned about the handball decision, and it felt like it was just in our players' heads and they totally switched off, because then right at the end of the game, while we're still complaining about it, Wolves go down the other end and Arik and Daria gets a chance to score the winner. We could have been having a very, very different conversation here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it bounces up off his knee, I think, or his thigh, and over the bar. But I mean, it's brilliant. One, it's brilliant defending from Treyhume, but still, he's about twice the size of Treyhume. He should be getting into position and getting that on target, but he puts it over the bar. And then as the ball goes out behind, Roofs is still complaining about the penalty decision. McYale's still complaining about the penalty decision. But I mean, we could have been having a very, very different conversation, but hey ho, we're not. There is part of me that sits here thinking we've basically played a full game with 10 men there and got a point away from home, so that's not a terrible result. There's a part of us thinks massive opportunity dropped. We could probably be out the race for the top 8 now, stroke 9 if 9 does get you in there, but realistically top 8 we could be, depending on how the rest of the results go this weekend. And it's just tough to take, really tough to take. I'm looking at the table now. We're on 47 points from 35 games, 12th position. Everton and Chelsea still to play this weekend. However, they are both in canny shite form, so I'm holding out a little bit of hope that they might trip up, but still, those teams have still got to play. We've got Man United next, then Everton, then Chelsea. So, I mean, I said this a few weeks ago, this club has taken us on a crazy ride over the last 12 months or so, where it just keeps this thing ticking over in my head to say it's not over yet.
Well, we do like doing crazy things in May, don't we?
Well, exactly. You imagine these results go our way this weekend and we beat Man United. We aren't talking about the season being over. We're then looking at Everton and Chelsea going, we want blood. We
Basically,
want blood.
beat them to finish above them. It would be the line.
And that would probably give us an extra bit of something, bit of oomph going into them games. So as long as it's still a possibility, we've got to try and hope. But you can probably sense in our voices we're a little bit deflated, but never mind. It is what it is. The other side, if I'm going to give another positive, and you briefly mentioned this before, Bomber, mathematically we are safe. I think it was you, Bomber, or Mike, you might have said it, but one of you said it anyways, that we are mathematically safe, which means that we will not be playing league games against Lincoln City and potentially Stevenage next season, or Stockport, which could well be the case for one of West Ham or Tottenham Hotspur. So, or even Forest. Forest aren't out of it yet, You look at that. They lose their game and, Spurs jump up the table a bit. It gets tasty again going into them final 3 games. But yeah, I mean, one of those teams is going to be playing league games at Lincoln or Stockport or Stevenage potentially, and we aren't. And, we have had a good season. It's just disappointing the way the last 3 games have gone. So, yes. Any rounded off thoughts, lads? Anybody want to chime in with anything?
No, I don't think so. I think you rounded it off well, mate. And I think I said what I needed to say and get off my chest a minute ago. So
Feel better for it, though,
Just
don't
echo
you?
what you were saying.
Feel better for now. But just one thing, United next week's a great game for us to have come to the end of the season. We're still a little bit to fight for. United sort of, as we were saying earlier, are comfortable in third place. So it'd be good to see a kind of a full stadium alive and just fucking go for it and see what happens. I mean, there's nothing to lose really at this stage.
Well, I mean, they've got a big game this weekend. They play Liverpool, which is it's their biggest rival, really, isn't it? I know, Man City probably like to think they are, but it's not. It's Liverpool. And I think if Liverpool win, they would leapfrog Man U. So it on goal difference, I think. So that's quite a big game for the way the top sort of 5 shapes up, really, because Villa and Liverpool are on equal points at the minute as we sit here. So by the time we play Man U, that could be a big game for them. So yeah, there's a lot hinging on what happens on Sunday, effectively, isn't there? Really, we've both in terms of our sort of how our season plays out, how the season plays out for some of the teams we play. Man U, Chelsea, Everton have all got games this weekend, which will either help their cause or hinder their cause. So it'll be interesting as the week goes on, as how we kind of wrap our heads around what's going on. There will be a more in-depth look back at the week and in the game tomorrow with Chris, Martin and James Copley from the Sunderland Echo. So make sure you tune in for that one. That'll drop probably around 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let's see how things go. There's also coming up on Monday our new podcast, which is replacing On This Week, because we've now done a full year of On This Week. So we're now going to be doing something a little bit different, still history and still very brilliant, but we're starting off with a look back at Don Revy at Sunderland, which should be quite interesting, with Martin and Calvin and Chris on that one. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that on Monday. And of course, Tuesday is the anniversary of the FA Cup final win in 1973, and we've got a special coming up where Calvin takes us through the entire cup run, which should be good. So make sure you get subscribed if you're not already. Thank you very much, Bomber and Mike. Been a pleasure, lads, and hopefully next time we speak, we're talking about Sunderland or something. That would be nice.
Thanks, Gav. Fingers crossed.
That's me trying to be really optimistic as we end things off anyway. Thanks, listeners. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll catch you then.